So I like trades, you like trades, everyone likes trades. So we're going to talk about some trades. Trades. Speaking of trades, we've got 5 active dealers and wheelers here. We got the Broncos, the Panthers, the Eagles, and the most recent beneficiary of the league's most controversial trade, Bengals. So glad you all can join us. We're going to try a little bit something different here. So what normally happens after we finish the podcast is
There's a trade.
stay on and just talk deals with each other. Hey, what do you think about this value? What do you think about this kind of trade? Kind of look at it different ways, and sometimes trades materialize. So what we're going to do is start going through the trades that have happened since the last podcast and bring up ideas, whether it be for our teams, whether it be for other teams, maybe even look at the trade baits a little bit and see if we can throw some ideas out there in the ecosystem that get some deals done. We'll still stay on afterwards and do the normal trade talks that we normally do, but we'll do a little bit more of the making of the sausage live and see if that either generates some ideas for the broader group or just frankly, you guys find it fun. So different type of podcast we normally do, but we'll see how it goes. But anyways, first and foremost, gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
No Chargers made a trade.
We just had a trade
going through. Matt's alive.
Okay. Well,
welcome, Matt.
Yes, he did. Okay. So we'll talk about that in a little bit because I think that's a good theme for a couple of different trades that have gone down and could go down. So anyways, we'll start at the top here of, as mentioned last week, we talked about some trades post-pod. We got pretty close on a couple of deals and made a couple happen. But there have been, I think, 18 trades that have happened since the last pod. We'll go through kind of step by step here. Some we were involved in. We can talk about why they went down the way they did. And others people can kind of throw liked, not liked, or kind of valuations on players and, why they feel the way they do. And then, we'll look at some trade baits and see if we can come up with any other trades that make sense here. So first and foremost, I was the patient zero, shockingly, giving up Trey Sermon after he got cut by the 49ers for a corner, Derek Stingley Jr., to the Texans. Reason I did it was with Sermon getting cut and not knowing his landing spot and not really seeing a good landing spot for him. I thought it was time to get what I could for the player before he just turned into nothing. I like Derek Stingley. I think he's going to be somebody who gets a lot of targets out in Houston. I don't view him as like a Revis Island type corner that just is avoided. But, the next couple of trades here will show that I probably sold prematurely and I should have held because I might have gotten a little bit more out of it. But
or less.
I thought it was great whenever he was a free agent.
Yeah,
again, I was really surprised. I'm a huge hater of running back, wide receiver, any offensive player for a corner. Like corners to me are just trash. I'll give you a fourth, I'll give you a fifth. Past that, I don't really care.
Well, this is just like a Ahmad Gardner, just cost controlled stud at the position for 4 years.
But then it comes to corner, and it's if they don't get targets because they're so good, they don't produce.
Well, this is where we ask Chris to change this cornerback scoring, make it valuable.
Well, again, I think that's something that Jeremy has said that he wants to take a look at is ways that we could make corners more in line with value. Like right now, it's you get value for being targeted, and making good plays on those targets. But if you're really good, you're not getting targeted. So it's kind of a catch-22 of how do you reflect that value? What's a good scoring system for that? So I think I've heard Chris and Jeremy be supportive of that in the past.
We've been supportive. There's 2 issues we look at when we're considering that, though. One is any change we make in this league has domino effects, so we can't adjust stuff too wildly all at once. As we've made minor adjustments in the past and it's had horrible consequences as a result of that. The other thing is we're also limited to what MFL records for a scoring perspective. At a league of this size, we're not going to be doing scores or tallying stuff manually or pulling it in from another site unless we can automate it. So that's the only two things we keep in mind when we look at changing scoring or a position.
That's fair. I mean, back to Sermon, like it was fine, and then he landed in like a very unexpectedly good spot.
But again, it's still a player that got cut. So I mean,
it was a risk. It was a risk. If he went through waivers or ended up on a team if he ended up with the Patriots, for example, he would have been buried 4th, 5th on the depth chart. Probably wouldn't have been worth what Panthers paid for him down the line here. So it's a risk reward of trying to trade the falling knife and give Sean credit. He caught it and flipped it, and good for him.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just a matter of let me just get what I can and be happy with it.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's too much time talking about a corner trade. Let's talk about the first trade that started
the one that you actually think matters.
So my next trade, I ended up giving Miles Sanders and Trayvon Walker to the Pats for Jalen Phillips, Bills 23 second, and the Giants 24 first. Again, this is mostly a getting out of Miles Sanders situation. I see Trayvon for Jalen is not exactly a 1-for-1, but a relatively similar pass rushing linebacker trade. And then I'm getting basically a second and a first for Miles. So that's why I make the deal, how I make the deal. But again, there's an opportunity that Miles does well this year and cuts him back in the running back 1, running back 2 conversation. He's probably a better best ball asset than a real fantasy asset, but he's definitely one of those in the conversation for folks you can probably get for on the cheaper side right now. And neither of these picks are probably going to be very early picks in those respective rounds.
No, both are late for sure. I personally would rather have Trayvon over Jalen, but he's also unknown, so that could easily change by the end of the year.
Well, I mean, regardless of how you really break it down, like it's a pretty decent trade.
Yeah, it's very even.
Yeah. Because like you could justify saying like I just traded my young linebacker and a 2nd-round pick for a young defensive end, and basically just changing position, and like hopefully Walker doesn't get moved to linebacker at any point, and then like paying a 1 for Sanders, or if you want to perceive it as Sanders being a 1st and a 2nd, like it's all fine when you are essentially moving 2 decent picks and like 1 younger asset for 2 good productive assets.
Yeah.
The only concern I have, I held Phillips myself. I love him. He's really good. The issue is he almost quit football in college when he was at USC because he had 2 concussions in a year, and he thought he was going to be done, and he actually had to transfer to Miami because USC essentially didn't have a spot for him anymore. And he went to Miami and he thought he was going to play with Rousseau, but Rousseau held out because his mom's a nurse or something. And that's why Phillips blew up at Miami by himself. He's really good, but he's definitely one of those guys where closer to the end of his rookie contract, he gets a concussion. It could be an early retirement guy.
Yeah. And again, it's the risk there, especially since Miami's trying to do more of a rotation this year. They just signed Trey Flowers. They're looking like they're trying to bolster that rotation. So he may see fewer opportunities as well. Whereas Trayvon, recent number 1 overall pick, is probably going to get his share of the opportunities.
Yeah.
All right. Bill, I saw your message. I will take care of that in a moment.
Cool.
But we'll go into the next domino here and then let James talk about the deal. James and Bears making a deal. Aaron Jones, Mario Addison, Deshaun Williams, and the Bears 2nd for Gainwell and Burns. So big pieces here being Aaron Jones, that 2nd, and Brian Burns. Cost-controlled 2nd contract, and Burns being a pretty strong DE here. James, do you want to talk through this one?
Sure. Mario Addison's already been cut. He's a 33, 34-year-old, and whatever production he gets in Houston, I didn't really care to have it. Aaron Jones, though, gives me a true running back. I feel that between the two backs there and Green Bay, he's the one that's truly talented. A.J. Dillon, I don't think he's all that
Blasphemy.
great.
That's
So
some
I
offensive stuff.
don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I think he's
That's
going to
fighting
produce.
words.
I think he's going to produce, but don't get me wrong. I think Aaron Jones was someone I would consider actually giving a second contract in the league. A.J. Dillon's a guy where I'm like, after his 4, he's done. I feel he's replaceable.
I don't even know how to feel about this.
I mean,
Matthew Berry just told me he was going to be a top 5 running back or top 10 running back.
I think that's going to be. I don't think either of them are. I think they're both can be very relevant. But I think Aaron Jones is definitely the far better player. And I feel when it comes to passing situations there, especially now with the sounds Lazard's going to miss a couple weeks, Jones is going to get, both of those running backs are going to get 50, 60 catches. They're going to catch the ball a lot. And, that's valuable. I really did not want to move Gainwell. I love him. I honestly believe he is more talented than Miles Sanders. I don't know if he's necessarily as good of him as an inside the box runner, but I just feel as a pure weapon, an athlete, and football player, he's better. Which is why I held on to him for so long. And then moving the Birds contract kind of sucks because it's great and it's long term and everything. But at some point, it's easier to move either him or Bosa and then fill up the backup spots with some cheap trades outside of paying both of them and being weak at running back. So
I genuinely think this is a win for you. But that's me personally.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, if you draft right, you can probably replace Burns with that 2nd-round pick.
That second's Sermon.
Yeah, he gave it up to first Sermon.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, I mean, either way, like you have a quality running back. You now have another young running back who might be decent. I don't know. Philadelphia hates all their running backs.
Yeah. The thing with the second there for Sermon is I actually had Sermon as my RB4 and Gainwell as my RB5 in that class. So I essentially just went for the talent and Sermon and just blindly went. He got cut. It didn't work for him in San Fran. They run a complicated zone system. And a lot of the times the undrafted guys fit better just because they run a weird system. I feel in Philly, Miles, at the end of this year, is he getting paid? Probably not. Is Philly going to want to invest more draft capital at running back? It depends on what Hurts does this year. They might not, but you get Sermon on a cheap deal. He's there. Gainwell's there. They have at least 2 guys that are going to be on.
Yeah, but you get Bijan Robinson at the bottom of the first. You're going to be happy with that.
That all depends on if Jalen Hurts wins games.
Well,
yep.
Yeah.
A lot depends on that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the landing spot for Sermon's great there because it is Philly who does like to use every running back on their roster at some point during game day.
Yeah.
Boston Scott was a outcast from New Orleans and has found a home there. Others over the last couple of years have come off of the waiver wire and seen serious run in Philadelphia. So he's got a definite path to relevance there. Probably one of the best spots he could have landed in terms of road to opportunity both this year and in the future. And again, his style of running was a lot more of see it before you make the cut, whereas like you said, San Francisco is you are expected to go full speed, and as soon as you see the crease, cut into it full speed. And that's not Sermon's game. So I know he tried to get there, but he couldn't.
Yeah, and the early thing out of Philly, too, is if you followed, they've always tried to keep a Jordan Howard type back on the roster, but most of the guys they've had the last couple of years just haven't made the team for one reason or another.
Or have been Jordan Howard.
Yeah, and it sounds as if they essentially bringing in Sermon to be that Jordan Howard role. So if nothing else, he can spot me a touchdown here or there, which with only really having Aaron Jones, it's nice to have someone else be able to get running back points there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So in between those, I made a deal with Patriots, which has led to all sorts of fun in the league for many of the folks involved here. So we might as well get to that as that spawns many other trades down the line here. It's my giving up Javonta Williams, DK Metcalf, Jordan Hicks, and Jordan Fuller for Kendrick Bourne, Devin Lloyd, Bobby Okereke, Jeremy Chin, and Pat's entire 24 draft. I do this because, so first, let me start with the obvious. DK Metcalf is got Geno Smith and Drew Lock for his quarterback this year. Drew Lock started a good portion of last year, along with Teddy with Denver. His top receiver was Cortland Sutton, who finished with 750 yards and 4 touchdowns. Next year, DK Metcalf balloons to $20 million. So I understand the conversation about, well, next year he's going to get a better quarterback. Well, next year I'm paying him $22 million, something there in that range. I wanted to try and replace him with somebody who I thought was going to give me better production this year. And although his contract is massive, I think Kendrick Bourne has a pretty good opportunity to outscore DK Metcalf this year. So that was one part of it. Secondly, Javonta Williams, everything I'm hearing out of Denver is this is a lot more of a timeshare than people expected to be, that Melvin Gordon is going to get serious run with the Broncos. And looking at the AFC West, I expect the Broncos to be the team that is the odd man out here. So I expect them to be at the bottom of the division in games where they're constantly having to pass to catch up. And Williams being in a timeshare, I think he's going to anyone relying on him to be an RB1 is going to be disappointed. Anyone relying on him to be an RB2 or flex type play is more in line of what he's going to be this year. So trying to get out from him there. And again, maybe next year he turns into more, but the NFL has not really smiled upon running backs who take 2, 3, 4 years to break out. The example there is like Rashad Penny, who shows flashes but doesn't really break out until the end of his contract. So that was my concern with him. Everything else was just a matter of flipping and upgrading some defensive talent and then grabbing Patriots picks because I think we've all seen that he has a habit of sort of flipping between blowing it up and going all in, which leads to some opportunities for down the line trades. So all that plus solidifies my defense in a very good way was why I made that jump.
All right, so you're an Ohio State fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we all know that you really did that so you can get a stab at Trayvon Henderson in 24, right?
That's me.
Compiling 24 picks.
I'm just saying, because that's the first thing I thought was I was like, okay, yeah, Trayvon's can be 24, probably top of the group.
Probably.
And that's probably going to be at least a top 10 pick. So.
Well, we'll see. He's added in pieces that if he gets lucky with injuries, he's going to be at least in the wild card conversation.
Was Trubisky starting in 24?
Well, again, Trubisky's probably not starting in 24, but I'm just talking pure 23. Plus, he still has Giants first. At some point, someone's going to be willing to trade a quarterback for a first. That's kind of the other side of this is he moves that first, gets like a Davis Mills, for example, or not a Matt Ryan, but like Matt Ryan last year. Matt Ryan probably could have been had for a first last year.
I don't know. I think it's time to pop the champagne bottle. To be honest, that he's got Miles Sanders. Does he even have a starting job next year? Curtis Samuel, if he doesn't do anything this year, does he have a starting job next year? Like there's
Curtis Samuel isn't starting right now anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a lot of he's got a lot of work to do for that 24 pick to not be
again,
very fun.
But again, it's one of those where I'm not going to count any chickens because the man makes trades. That's first and foremost. You're
not going to have that trades. First.
Yeah, and Chris, you're right. You're not even going to have that first by the end of it all.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I've created optionality, and that's really what I like to do with my teams is make sure I've got flexibility to do things. I think one of the toughest things was the period of time post-draft until about maybe a week or two ago where I was stuck right at the year's cap and almost right at the salary cap where I just couldn't do anything, which was very frustrating for me as an owner. So I prefer a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of breathing room in the management of my teams. But I think it would be fair to say that if I had tried to sell Javonta to the league by himself, I would have gotten a better return than I got here. It's just kind of breaking the pieces down. But sometimes you got to make the big trade.
Yeah. I think long term you're going to win this one, but it's a lot of faith in Kendrick Bourne.
And again, it's a $22 million receiver. I did put some thought about trade extending him. I would have had to do 3 years. It would have cut 3% off the deal, so dropped about $1.5 million on there, but would have brought him through, I think, a 30, 31, 32-year-old season. And the Pats only have him really signed this year and then next, so didn't exactly make sense. So Bourne is probably going to be one of those guys that I hope does well for me, and I hope earns me a comp pick.
Yeah. Or tag him.
I really like the move for you.
Yeah.
I did too. The only thing left is really just DK. I completely understand it for this year, not the production. But, at midpoint this year, they're not doing well. He just got locked up, so he's not getting traded. But Lockett's probably getting moved, and even bad teams produce fantasy points. And going into next season, he'd be 20 million, and probably going to have a better quarterback. So it's not horrible either way.
Yeah. I like you moving Metcalf. The only thing that surprised me was you trading Chin just right after this. But that's what you do.
Chin's a little expensive.
Right.
Like he's valuable, but he's expensive for his position.
So the problem there was between Wingard, Chin, and a couple others. I think I had about 17 or 18 million tied up at the safety position. I like the depth and I like the quality, but that's a little bit expensive for my taste, which is why I made the downstream trade here. So
it becomes increasingly harder to move what you'd consider expensive safeties because it's not a position of extreme need most of the time in season, but people do spend a good portion of their money like early in the off season on it. So you will see like the Harrison Smith type of contracts move relatively early in the off season. But like at this point, I think even for somebody young like Chin, like moving that sizable of a contract right now is just, you got fantastic value for it.
Right. And again, Chin is a good young player who's on an $8 million contract, which is a fraction of what Simmons is making, what Jamal Adams is making. A lot of the guys who kind of came before him, it's a far better contract for that too. So even though it is expensive, it's a better contract than I think we've seen from others in that position. So
I actually had a similar trade with Raiders with Minka ongoing in the background. I just asked for a little bit more. And he went with yours.
Yep. But Pats, we were going through the Williams and Metcalf for your defense and picks. What were your thoughts when you were trying to make this deal?
Mainly just trying to get offense for defense. Although, when I threw in Kendrick Bourne, I think it was a lot less than this. Maybe not quite. Like Bourne wasn't in there originally, but Lloyd and Oakery. Chin I just kind of threw in there. I had just read one of the reasons I got rid of Chin was because I had just read somewhere, and I can't remember where his positioning up in the box is a lot less, I think, since they added Xavier Woods. So that may equate to less tackles. So I was just trying to get value for him.
Yeah, and Jordan Fuller's making plays in Rams camp, and at $500,000, and I think $2 million if you extend him, based off last year's production, is not a bad situation to be in.
No, it was much cheaper. So yeah, I mean, picks. You guys know how I am with picks. I mean, I'll give mine away in a second. I may eventually get some back or try to. I definitely know I tried to get my pick back from Broncos, and when he said I can't have it back, then I decided, I'll just try and make it worse for him. So that was that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bill had a similar conversation at one point, trying to get his pick back from Goose. Goose said no, so Bill started making his team better, and then finally had to give up Dawson Knox to get his pick back.
Yeah.
I had his pick all year last year. He kept asking me for it, and I said, no, it's mine. I didn't trade it till the off season.
Yep. Then we've got a couple of next couple of deals here, kind of along the fringes, all involving Goose, shockingly, but definitely worth kind of spending a couple moments on. We've got a trade with Lions where he gives up Kennard, Odom in a third for Newsome, Mike Edwards in a fourth. This is beyond my IDP knowledge. I think Odom is kind of a depth safety. I don't know a ton about Kennard. I think this is probably a excuse me, a cap thing. Is Mike Edwards somehow slotted to make a jump this year with Tampa? Do people know about that?
He essentially made this deal to not have to pay Kennard and Odom for the cut cost, and then he picked up 2 guys that will produce a little bit more than what he had. It was a very small change for a very small pick swap, kind of.
Okay. Then we've got Broncos giving up Dennis Gardeck for Tajay Sharp, Isaiah Oliver, Jason Verrett, and a fourth. This seemed like a dump of, I don't know what it is a dump of, but it's a fourth for stuff, and I don't really know anything about
IR players.
Yeah, it's IR players. That's all it is. He wanted a linebacker that he could use and dumped the IR cap side of it.
Okay, is Gardeck more of a rotational guy, or I hadn't heard much about him?
At best, probably special teams.
Yeah, he's just a rotational pass rusher.
He's league minimum. So it's just like something to get back to throw on the end of your roster while also dumping a whole bunch of garbage.
Points per dollar.
I don't think there's a lot of depth in Arizona, honestly, on the linebacking core.
Well, I'm a big fan of Majay Sanders there. I'm probably never going to get him from Texans, but I've tried.
He's supposed to be the starting weak side linebacker.
Yeah, he was actually listed as a starter.
Is he, though, or is Arizona still fucking with us?
I think they're screwing with this because I'd be very surprised if he starts over some of the other guys they have.
So there was a point in the preseason where Arizona had moved all of their starters to 4th or 5th string. Like Kyler was listed as 3rd string. James Conner was 4th string. Nuke, Rondell Moore. And basically, if you were a starter, you were 3rd string or worse. I think it was the point where RJ started sending offers out saying, Benjamin, RB1.
I didn't send any offers, but I did pump that in the chat.
They do have an injury too right now. Marcus Golden is like week to week. I don't know if it's been disclosed what it is.
Yeah, he would be technically the starter, but yeah, if you look at their depth charts and you look at the back end of their linebacking depth chart, you see that there is a lot of talent at backing other players up. So I would imagine he is not actually the starter. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. Then we have Chiefs giving up a future second and Quincy Roche for Josie Jewell and Browns 24th third. A second for a linebacker is a pretty big pay for Chiefs here for getting Josie. Seems like part of that scheme. I'm not sure. Is he really second worthy, guys?
He's a PFF darling. He missed last season, but the year before, I think he was top 10 linebacker grades.
So perfect timing. So Browns, what were you thinking? What made you willing to get rid of Jewel for a second?
Oh, hey guys.
Coming in and getting right on the spot.
Yeah, I mean he's a good player. I don't think he's a world beater by any means. They re-signed him to a contract, but after this year they could basically cut him with very little dead cap, and I don't know. I think that they'll probably go a different direction next year or the year after. So I mean, I think he's still got 2 good years left in him, but after that, I don't know. So, and I've got enough linebackers that I got to get rid of a couple. So
you have a ton of linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, the second is a lot of times draft capital is an easier thing to move than players in this league, especially as people are trying to deal with years and salary cap right now.
Sure.
All right. Moving along. Oh, yes. Now we're back to the big ones here. Both of you are in this chat. So, Chris, this is a big day for you. What was it like getting Za'Darius on your team after the pain that he caused you a few years ago?
His addition was my idea. The linebackers weren't in this deal. And I'm like, you know what? the fact that he cost me a championship. I need to have him on my squad at some point. So it was a little bit of catharsis that occurred. So I feel pretty good about it.
Plus the fact he's a Viking, right?
And now he's a Viking, yes. So I mean, now he's guaranteed to be terrible, but at least he's on my squad.
Absolutely. And James, I mean, you've got Kingmaker in Zadarius Smith, but what are we thinking here?
I was willing to part with him or Mac, and I said it several times. It was just the questions about both of them coming back off of injury. I felt there's quite a bit of risk to have 24 million tied up in two guys that didn't play that much last year. And originally the deal was Winfield for Diggs, Curse, and I think a fourth. Because I wanted to break down one of my two young safeties because I had Minka and I already locked him up, and I wanted to try to get some more depth at corner. And then he suggested that we do a linebacker because I can afford Curse, Kearse, whatever. I feel like he's just going to produce more this year than Winfield, but he's got a shorter shelf life. And then the Smith to Gruger Hill, I stay about the same at linebacker, but one's 500,000, the other one's 9 million, which kind of helps with the huge safety contract.
That's right. I think he was on Jeremy's team last year for a while, because I was looking at him saying, "Who the hell is this guy?" That Jeremy's got a linebacker for like a 200-point scoring linebacker for $500,000. But
he was on my squad almost all year.
Oh.
I actually traded Wingard for him way back in the day. Can't remember who I bought Camus from, but it was Wingard for Camus, and I extended him that year, and he happened to produce last year. So
he's still starting in Houston. He's turned into a good team guy. He's a special teamer who just made it into actually starting and did well. And Houston's bad. He'll get a lot of tackles again.
Yep. Yeah, I'm fine with the deal. I end up paying more for a couple of guys, but Winfield's going to be really expensive to extend. I didn't extend him because he would have jumped to like 12.5 million or something like that based on points per game. So I'm going to ride the year out, and hopefully his points per game isn't quite so extremely high. Otherwise, I'll have a very expensive safety again. But that kind of goes back to Goose's trade for Edwards, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for right now. He's supposed to be playing a little bit of the strong safety as well this year. I think Tampa's going to be flipping their safeties around to nickel, strong, and free safety quite a bit. So it'll be interesting how it works out. But again, going back to Vikings fan, I was Winfield senior fan. I was growing up watching him, so kind of fun to have Winfield Jr. on my team. But I don't know. Seemed like a fair trade for both of us. We're happy with it.
I think it also goes without saying that anyone who made the trade, especially when this happened in the last week, is okay with the trade they made and happy with what they got back.
Yeah.
If they didn't, then we need to institute safe words in the league or something like that. Saying, "Hey, commish, please process this trade, pineapple."
Yep. Now the other thing for the linebacker side is I wanted a few more guys that were sack guys at the linebacking spot. So hopefully Smith fills that role a bit along with Dupree and such for my team, so I can get spike weeks in there. Because traditionally I've just been a tackle guy at the linebacker spot for who I collect.
Yeah. And vice versa, all I had tackle wise was Roquan, so it's nice.
So again, now we got to put Browns back on the spot here. Browns, you did the impossible. You made a trade happen with Colts, and usually it seems to happen like this, where it's like he gets offered something he likes, he takes it like snap, and then thanks you for the deal, and then disappears again for the next 3 weeks, or just responds in chat that your offers are terrible. But congratulations. Was this kind of a one and done, or is this something you've been working at?
No, I've been poking around. I had been trying to move Brown. I'm sure some of you got offers. I think he's still a good player. I don't know if he fits perfectly with what the Colts are trying to do, but I mean, he's cheap enough where if he wants to just use a regular extension on him, that's fine. I wasn't really looking for wide receiver because I've got a bunch of those, but I chatted real briefly in DMs and said, "Hey, what do you think of this guy? Would you do him?" Boom, shake hands, done. It probably took about 5 minutes. So,
well, that's a record, I think.
yeah, but it makes me and Bill's conversations look a little bit different. He and I go back and forth all the time on different values.
Oh, I was talking about Colts.
Oh,
I don't know. My Hayden Hurst trade with him went really smooth too. I was like, I went Hayden Hurst 2-1. He's like Calvin Austin. I'm like, okay, done.
Hey, so again, it seems to be the way. Is it's either your values suck and you're a bad person, me, or you just nail it right on the head. Thanks for the deal, and moving right along. So again, I must give you credit for hitting that valuation on the head.
yeah, thanks.
All right. Speaking of hitting valuations on the head here, this one caused a little bit of conversation in the chat, and we have a lot of the main participants in that conversation live here. So I imagine we're going to get some conversation here as well. Recently acquired Javonta Williams by Pats with Zaire Franklin and Giants third getting moved to the Bengals for Curtis Samuel, Yannick, and then 2 seconds. The Broncos second in 23 and the Bengals second in 24. So immediately after, not immediately, but after the long weekend, flipping one of the major pieces from Pats in my trade to Bengals for getting some of that draft capital back, plus a pretty good-looking D end and some of those many stops. Again, I guess Pat, let's start with you here. What was your motivation in this one?
I mean, really just trying to address defensive end. I got absolutely destroyed on the position change, which really kind of mixed things up on my team. I mean, that might have been why I made some of the trades earlier that I did in the year. But and I think Bengals was just out of the blue, like hit me up with an offer, and I was like, well, I might as well just go with him. You know what I mean? I know people were talking in the chat like yada, but I'm telling you, like, I mean, obviously I trade a little bit here and there. I talk to people here and there, and it's a lot harder moving outside Vikings, and there's probably a couple other guys here. It is really hard to get people to make big moves, which is what I like to do. I just like to hey, I'm not like Chiefs where I like to take that fourth and then try and turn that into 2 fourths here and then another third down. I'm not like that. I like to just get it all over with. So yeah, the biggest thing was the defensive end. Javonta Williams, he's a good running back. Clearly, I didn't know that I could get the multiple firsts or whatever people thought that I thought I could get for him. But I thought Yannick might be a back end first because he's a defensive end that worst year he's had 7.5, 8 sacks. I mean, plus he's now on the Colts. He gets to play next to DeForest Buckner. I mean, he could have a good year. They really like him here in Indy. So it was basically, just trying to – I like to take players like Javonta and then space it out because my roster's thin. So, I'm trying to get a much deeper roster and just hope some of these guys pan out. Curtis Samuel, he's a Buckeye. So, whatever. That's the big thing there. He was pretty good a couple years ago. Who knows? Maybe Wentz might be able to. I mean, Wentz is an upgrade from what he's seen the last few years. So I know that's saying much, but who knows? He could have, if he has 50, 60 catches, that helps me out.
Yep. And Chris, you haven't had an RB1 since you flipped JK, right?
I don't even know if JK counted. I don't remember if I got him a full. I think I got JK late in a year, and then the next year he was injured, and I flipped him for Zeke when I had Zeke for a year. But the last time I had a star running back was CMC. And based on what I've heard from you earlier on this call, Mike, I'm gonna have to wait another year before Javonta actually turns into something like that. But I'm fine with them if they split with Gordon this year. I just want a guy that's actually going to get a good amount of carries. Like all my other running backs have been made fun of. They're all satellite guys or RB2s or worse on their own team. So now
that's my opinion on it. Like you go through Twitter, you go through Instagram, and just kind of go through, okay, who's who in the zoo. And Javonta Williams is like half the people's number one breakout person. So I could be right. I could be wrong. Just my position on it. So,
and I'm completely fine if he doesn't break out this year, I'm fine with that. I can wait till next year. I just want somebody that's not a satellite back.
Ironically, I think I'm the one that traded you CMC too.
That was a long time ago. I
Yeah, it
honestly don't
was.
remember.
Yeah, it was like in the first year or two because I drafted him in the startup, and I'm pretty sure I traded him to you.
I could go back and look. I got to go figure out what year this was. I know I traded away Gurley for CMC plus something, but that was, yeah, it's not the point. It's before CMC was a thing.
But anyways, I know this definitely got some strong reactions. I think we've got about 24 hours or so to think about it. Well, so again, the thought was he could have broken down to more picks or other pieces. What were some of the thoughts here?
I mean, if you're getting rid of a running back where it's obvious his best years are ahead of him, I'm starting the conversation with whatever stud that I want and a first round pick, and I'm not budging from there. I'm adding, I'm not subtracting. Like that, Javonta is in that, Najee's in that. How many other are there that are like in that category right now?
Maybe 5. Maybe.
I mean, if we're including Javonta in there, I mean, so we got Najee, Javonta.
We're not talking rookies because we don't necessarily know what they are.
Right.
But
so before that, it's like Jonathan Taylor.
No, debatable. Jonathan Taylor had an amazing year last year. So like if he's slightly under that for the rest of his career, like he's already hit his like career year.
Breece Hall.
Other than rookies, like
you guys are doing a terrible job.
That's what I said. Like DeAndre Swift, like
Swift is like the perfect name.
Right, that's like those are the like most valuable players as far as like dynasty, and that is what we are playing. Is we are in a dynasty league, so like I feel like those players, if anybody, are the ones that you should extract every bit of value out of, and I just don't think it was done here.
No, fair enough. Bill, James, I think you guys had some comments as well.
No, I'm good. I mean, I think we've all said what we need to say on this one.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It should, like Javonta is the type of player that should have been shopped around, because I guarantee posting it one time in the chat, he is the type of player that you are just going to get an absurd offer for. Maybe not absurd, but probably better than
you're going to get
2 seconds and 2 players.
Somebody's going to offer you a first plus, but a lot of them are going to be garbage offers probably too.
Maybe.
Well, like the challenge I've had with that as a previous owner of Javonta was, that's true. And RJ, this is not meant to put you on the spot, but as someone who we've talked about with this, is often those offers will sit there for a while. And again, there shouldn't be a rush with someone like Javonta. He hasn't played a game yet. There's not okay, I need to get rid of him by this point because he's a ticking time bomb. But if you're trying to make a couple moves and kind of have to chain moves together downstream to put a team together, you can't just have the offer sit there and chat for days on end. And I think some of the deals that we've done over the years have gone that way, where I'll send a deal and it'll sit there and then it'll evolve. And then a couple weeks later, we'll come to a common understanding on a deal. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. People might not want to wait that long.
Trading is not a patient thing for most people.
Fair.
So that being said, Yannick seems to be one of those pieces, and I think there is a perception right now, unless Bill does something to change it, that Bill's second next year should be early. So it's not a first, but that plus a future second kind of equates to a first again.
It doesn't, though. It's not a first. A first is a first.
There's been discussion that early seconds are better than late firsts.
Yeah,
on the spot before. I get that it's not better, but I clearly remember conversations being had.
We've always said they are more desirable. We've always debated they're probably not more valuable. They are just more desirable.
That's a better way of putting it.
It's because of the 5th-year option risk at the bottom. That's all it is. But I don't know. I mean, I get where you're coming from. Like with multiple people on this chat and like outside of this chat, like I've been trying to get picks for Dubs and Jones and basically anybody. And like my argument is definitely, a low first or a low second is not as valuable as a high first or a high second. But that's all relative to what you're willing to accept, I suppose.
Yep. And again, if it's going to be Pats takes those and takes those seconds and flips them for pieces that he's going to try and use to make his team better this year, then maybe having it split up that way does things. Again, playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I think, definitely one of those trades that led to a lot of conversation in the league, in chat, all sorts of places. So always enjoy trades that move to content. But Bill, we're coming right back at you here with James. You guys making another move here. Bill moving off for Rasheem Green, and then Raiders 23, 3rd and 4th for Pierre Strong, Darian Butler, and Jonathan Jones. So Panthers flipping one of the linebackers he stole from me in free agency with Pierre Strong and a corner to get a D end and some picks here. So Bill, we'll start with you. Was this just mostly about grabbing a couple of young pieces here? What was the motivation?
Honestly, you guys all know I've been trying to move Green for a while. I figured Pierre Strong has some version of potential in the future, hopefully. Darian Butler, I didn't even know about this guy really, and it is what it is, a potential flip down the road. And then Jonathan Jones is just another name for cap purposes, I believe it was, but not horrible with the 3rd and 4th. I don't think they should end up being in the mid to early 20s, somewhere in there, or mid-teens, early 20s, somewhere in there for the Raiders. But hopefully it's one of those situations where it's just Ramondre Stevenson and Pierre Strong next year, which is fine with me this year. But maybe it's a flip situation down the road. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked Pierre pre-draft. I think that his numbers were good. I thought he was going to be someone that, depending on where he landed, was going to be a nice little late round steal. And Panthers was also on that wavelength as well. But James getting a D end in Green, who you immediately extend. Were you thinking? Do you think he's long for Houston? You think this is a prove it deal and he's going to land elsewhere? What's your thought process here?
Young guy. He's 25. He's might just become a pass rush specialist somewhere else down the line, but for sub $3 million, it works. Pierre, I drafted him late second. I kind of hated to move him, but it just came down to a point to where against the contract years and everything else and wanting to get some more depth elsewhere, and I just felt like he's more of a year 2, year 3 guy. I don't think he's going to do much for me this year. And then same thing with Butler. He's the backup right now. They have a lot of older linebackers. I picked him up for literally just cap space. So, and then Jonathan Jones, I had 4 corners. I feel pretty confident the 3 others that I had were going to be able to produce, and it comes down to roster spots. Just don't want to invest 4 spots in corner.
Four's a elementary. I got like 8.
Well, Texans inherited like 12, but not all of us built our rosters the same.
Yeah, John would like a word with you on that one. All right. No, definitely I like this where it's kind of you take a player you're trying to move, add some late round value, and get somebody who hasn't played it down yet, but still has valuation of a 2nd round pick plus some other pieces with it. I think it's a fun construct here because Pierre Strong again is a 2nd round pick. So if you took this and said, okay, rotational pass rusher, a 3rd and a 4th for a 2nd round pick, and then a corner and a rotational linebacker, again, it's a fun trade, fun construct to look at.
I think it's. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just thought it was a really good trade, honestly, for Bill, because Pierre, like I said, I don't think he's really going to produce this year. Butler, I think, might actually have a chance of getting a starting gig there next year. So if he wants to continue to keep his pick high and also have a few guys that might produce and do better next year, I just felt like Pierre and Butler were good fits for him. And I was looking for an edge rusher, so it kind of all worked out for us.
Yep. All right. Quick one, because we kind of touched on it a little earlier. I acquired Chin in the deal with Patriots. Made me a little expensive at the safety position, so flipped him to Raiders for DJ Wanham and a second-round pick. Wanham was a little bit more prolific's the wrong word, but active last year, kind of a surprise. More of an athletic guy out of South Carolina, but with Hunter in there, he's been relegated to kind of that third outside linebacker or pass rusher role. In the second, Chin, one of probably the game's best young safeties, but because of the positional abundance is the wrong word, but depth is probably the better one. Felt okay moving him to get the second, and then a player like Wanham back who cost me $500,000 right now. If I want to extend him, I think he jumps to like 2.3. So kind of the right kind of depth to have on your team to kind of provide points on a week-by-week basis. Not necessarily he's going to put up a lot of zeros and a lot of low point values, but he'll give me a week or two here, probably 10 to 12 points.
Yeah, it's disappointing that like every valuable piece on Minnesota's defense got converted to linebacker this year.
Kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Anyways, RJ, you've been waiting patiently here. Tyrell Dodson and Eric Murray for Michael Brockers and Rashad Weaver. Sorry, James, was Dodson the linebacker you were saying last time that you liked, or was that a different linebacker?
No, I have Bernard. I have their rookie, the guy they took.
Gotcha. Okay, so sorry, RJ. What was the motivation here?
I get a productive safety, and I capitalize on a value increase with Weaver due to an injury. Brockers was just to make the cap work. As you can see further up, Bucks didn't want him either. So that makes sense. He is a starting defensive tackle, but he's a lower end one. So yeah, Murray for a defensive end that gained value due to an injury. I like it. I moved off Dodson real quick. So
Yep.
just got a strong safety with a good amount of tackles.
Yep. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here. But yeah, another one of those smaller around the periphery moves that you've made a solid living on the last year or so. But then sticking with you and Bill, Bill flipping his recently acquired Jonathan Jones for Dodson, Caleb Johnson, Brooks, and a fifth. Is this just basically a cap dump and a player dump, or
cap dump? And I like Jones. I think it's more of not necessarily more of, but I think a thing that helped J.C. Jackson and Gilmore was being the cornerback one there, and I believe Jones is, at least for now, the cornerback one in New England. So it'll be a relatively productive position.
Agreed.
He's not the cornerback one because of talent. I'd like to emphasize that it's because of tenure in the defense.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely like him as well.
Yeah, this was just for me, just getting. I knew RJ was looking for a corner. Honestly, the only name I know off of his deal there was Dodson, and I guess Caleb Johnson has more value than I thought whenever the deal was made. But yeah, this was just moving points for a pick mostly.
Cool. Speaking of moving points for a pick, James is back on the spot here, moving a 23-3-4 and a 24-5 for Kyle Van Noy. who may play for the entire AFC by the end of his tenure in the league. But again, should be a rotational guy there. James, what do you like about Kyle that made you want to give up some of the later capital here?
I actually sent a lot of trades to a lot of people, trying to get 1-2 more linebackers to try to get a fourth guy that I felt could consistently score. And I sent that one, and it's just one of the ones that got accepted. I just like him because the Chargers are going to be good, and I know that he can be used in a variety of different ways, and he's a guy who makes stuff happen. He's a guy that will get you sacks, interceptions, forced fumbles, and at his contract's sub 600,000. So having him and Camus, Ruger, Hill, I feel they might get me 300 points in total for like 1.1 million. It's kind of hard to beat that at linebacker.
You think Ruger Hill's gonna score 297
No,
points this year?
Combined. Gruger.
Yeah,
and
I know.
No, Gruger. I think they're both.
I stand by what I said.
They're about 150 a pop. So, I'll take it.
He's on the Chargers this year, right? Van Noy.
Yeah. Well, I had Kenneth Murray, and I moved him for I think a third flat. He's not very good. There's a reason they went out and got veterans, and they're doing stuff. And Van Noy is very scheme versatile. He can, even at his old age, without the likes he once had, he just plays smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good pickup, especially for that price. Like, yeah, it's fantastic value.
All right, now we got 3 Jets moves, and we haven't heard much from him recently, I don't think, but got involved tonight in a big way. Trading Chris, a very elite quarterback option here, one who would likely start many games for Chris this year in Joe Flacco. So, Chris, what's it like to actually have an elite option at quarterback?
It feels great, Mike.
Hey, don't make fun of Flacco. He's an MVP, okay?
Hey, I don't need greatness. That's never what I shoot for. I just need solid effort.
You want a championship without an MVP. Now you have an MVP. It's guaranteed now.
I like this trade. I thought it was a fantastic pickup for 2 fourths.
It's all I want him for is I have 2 QB options. Hopefully, if Flacco starts each of week 1, 2, and 3, the idea is I have 2 QB options for 3 of the 4 weeks where we have doubleheaders. That's the intent behind it. If I can get an advantage early on, and I don't know if you guys realize how brutal some of the schedules are over in the AFC. In week 1, I play Browns and Ravens. Week 2, I got the Chargers and the Steelers. Week 3, I've got Dolphins and Bills. So the only team in that list that could be considered an easy one, and it's not even that easy, would be Steelers, just because they're bottom of our division. So any little advantage I can get to start the year off, it's worth throwing a couple picks and hoping that I could maybe get some points out of Flacco.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all.
No. Jeremy messed up the schedule.
I gave Chris so much shit yesterday that like I can't give him any more, even like jokingly, of course. But I think this is a fantastic trade. I still think I still think his team is subpar, not super. But
maybe dropping the B and it's super.
Super team.
What can I say with that? I gotta make dad jokes sometimes.
I think that's enough about Flacco.
All right, fine. Let's talk about the next Jets trade. Jets getting very specific in his trade bait, saying Agnew looking like he's going to potentially be the starting slot there in Jacksonville this year. And then Roy Robertson Harris also in Jacksonville getting some opportunity. Both those getting flipped for McCole Hardman. I think he's on the last year of his first-round rookie contract, so gets very expensive this year. But, again, has a path to some significant volume in a Mahomes offense. So can't shake a stick at it, but at the same time, I think most people who are Hardman fans want to try and get out for him. So it's a low-cost risk, but a risk nonetheless.
This is not a risk. This is Jets doing everything he can to complete the journey to a top 5 pick. Hardman has had 4 years of being in a Mahomes offense and has been garbage, and he's going to continue to be garbage. And
three years.
Okay, so this is 4, and he's going to be garbage in his 4th year as well.
I think this was just a rule mistake. I don't think he understood that he has to give him the 5th year, which is going to put him up at the 17-20 range. Right now, no, less than that. It's still going to be a substantial number.
Did he declare it?
No, I don't think he understood that he had to. I think he thought he could just trade extend the guy and keep him for like 3-4 million.
Okay.
Well, I know I'm not alone because Chris also, we've both enjoyed the career trajectory of Jamal Agnew, and it's nice to see that somebody was willing to pay real value for somebody. And it is refreshing to hear that he is getting an opportunity at slot. I don't keep up with Jacksonville, but he's somebody who, like, just effort and good football play has certainly earned a spot on the field, and that's nice to see.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, it's Chargers making a great first deal after being absent for so long.
It's nice to see Chargers making some moves.
I think a lot higher of McCole Hardman than everybody else. I know he's going to be kind of expensive, but he is good. He is fast. He has gotten progressively better every year. So I don't know why Bill hates him so much.
It means give him to RJ.
Yeah, I'll take him. I'm gonna have to make that cap work, but I'll take
it.
All right, and last but not least, another trade going down during the pod here. Juwan Bentley for Nate Sudfeld, Michael Brockers, Morgan Fox, and Buccaneers 24th third. So looks like kind of cap filler, and
feels incredibly cheap for Bentley. Feels like
cheap for Bentley, you were saying, Bill?
Yeah, it feels very cheap for Bentley.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised we don't have a contract extension for him already. Like, even at that price.
At $10 million?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I don't know that I'm too surprised about that.
It's only 26.
Okay. No. All right, so those are the trades that have happened since the last podcast. We've gone for a little over an hour here, having gotten into a lot of proposed other ideas here, but I think we've had some good discussion about some of the deals that went down and the reasons behind them. So maybe that'll lead to some additional trade ideas here. So, I mean, we're at the hour. I'll leave it up to you guys. Do we continue talking live on the pod, or we kind of end the pod and go to our normal chatting conversation where we're a little bit more, I'll call it open kimono about things in terms of what we think? Because again, I think we all feel it's bad form to completely put people on blast on things, and the podcast is a way of doing that. But I think the after show is a little bit more of a private conversation where we can say a little bit more. So I'll leave it open to you guys about what you think.
I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, what are we talking about? Doing the post pod on the live pod?
I mean, that's kind of what we were saying earlier is,
I mean, I think that's kind of cool. I think we have a ton of people here, which will make it a lot of fun. But we need to put an asterisk on it of like, don't get your fucking feelings hurt if we talk shit.
You're gonna see a lot of me leaning into my monitor, so you're gonna see my forehead and a lot of rude comments. Like that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't mind. I mean, what do the 4 other ones think?
I'm always game.
James?
I mean, post-pod is fine by me.
I'll probably just be talking about what I'm thinking right now anyhow as I go through trying to make deals.
Well, that's the point. That's the fun of it.
All right, so let's at least start that process, and then if we want to get, if we're worried about it getting too out there, we can curtail it from there.
Yeah.
As we ask for things, other people might hear it and go, "Oh, I have this thing that Bill
that's great.
says he would like to acquire,"
That's
and
great.
it could spark some more trades.
Yeah.
So, which one of you guys has a good running back I can trade for?
I got Pierre Strong.
Nah,
James, are you here?
I do want Pierre Strong, but that's not the good running back I'm talking about. That's not the level of good running back.
I once again have a surplus of running backs. I teeter up and down.
I'll take Javonta Williams from you.
Well, yeah.
I'll give you AJ Dillon in a second for him.
Oh man.
I told you, Matthew Berry thinks he's going to be a top 10 running back.
He's going to be Derrick Henry. What are you talking about? Well, I mean, it's no secret that I've been shopping Myles Garrett around the league. I think I've gotten close on a couple offers and a couple deals, but hasn't quite gotten something to work yet. But again, I've said to others, I view him as a premium asset in this league. If you look at his age, his position, his production, and his consistency, $15 million for that contract is not bad considering what others have paid to get anything close to it on the open market production wise, and what like Brian Burns just went for Aaron Jones, a high second, and other stuff like that. So something like Myles Garrett in that situation, I've been trying to get, and again, I've been flexible in my makeup, but in many cases, some kind of D-end replacement, not anywhere close to scoring the same number, but someone who's a warm body at the position, and then value at other portions of my roster. That being said, I also have shopped Aaron Donald, a little bit tougher at $30 million, but he just worked out with the Rock, so he's going to score 400 points this year.
I got a wild one. If you want to go, if you want Keenan Allen, I'll take Kendrick Bourne and Myles Garrett, and I'll give you Keenan Allen and I don't know, one of my defensive ends, and we can work out some of the rest of it.
It'd be a starting point. I think
just if nobody else is like giving you fair value, I don't even know if that would be fair value.
I don't have anything to offer.
I mean, I'll bite the bullet and take them for 80 cents too.
Shit, I've offered you at 90 cents. And
I know you have. You have had more than a fair value for trade. The issue with a guy like Garrett is finding somebody that's got enough capital to take him that isn't gonna cripple the depth at other positions. But like in my example, I don't have enough picks in the world to acquire him without losing other locations. And even though you're not taking the top shelf guys off the other positions, like I've been in this league enough years to know that once you get an injury or two, it doesn't matter if you got top end guys. If the rest of your team dies, or even if you have one or two injuries and you have no depth, you are hosed. So yes, you have offered well more than fair value. I can't do it.
You gotta offer up a Monra.
See, that's the problem. If I lose, I don't have. Do I want to rely on my 2 kick returners for my wide receivers? If I get rid of my,
Hey,
get rid of Amon.
I already offered you a B Cook steal. Don't act like there aren't options out there.
You did offer me that. I was looking at a counter.
Can I get a fucking Brandon Cooks deal? Come on.
RJ, I keep looking at your team and I'm like, there's trades I want to make, but then I'm like, I just don't see it.
I'm trying.
Well, I mean, if anybody needs a receiver, I've got Braxton Berrios.
Yeah, I'm good. I can't. I was looking into a way to afford Keenan Allen and his 36, but anyone for 17. Okay, I already had Cedric Wilson. I really wanted him to stay in Dallas, and then when he decided to go to Miami just picks up every receiver they can. I'm like, okay, never mind. I wasted $17 million.
Mike, you gotta let Brandon in.
All right, 1 second. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, geez.
You don't have to let them in.
There's
And
two.
Jeff.
Okay, sorry guys.
There's always an option.
Guys, I'm sorry for not letting you in. We're at the point of having 2 rows of people on the bottom of my screen that I've got to manage here. So this is beyond my podcast hosting capabilities.
Speaking of paying 80 cents on the dollar, hello, gentlemen.
Brandon's like, this is my cue. I'm here for my 70-cent offers.
Did somebody say shitty trade offers?
Playing my tune.
Oh man.
I don't know. Is Jets actually here?
Yo,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
just
actually
came
had.
to defend the McCole Hardman Valor.
Oh, gotcha. I actually had a few trades I thought you should do. I looked at earlier.
What's up?
I thought you should ship Jared Goff to the Ravens because all he has right now is Danny Dimes.
No, do not send anyone to
What
the
are you
And
Ravens.
I
doing?
figured,
You need
I
to
figured
stop
you should.
it.
I figured since you're pretty much taken for picks and you got your young receivers, but the rest of the team's pretty much barren. I was thinking maybe Jimmy G and a future pick or some sort, or ship him to the Bengals. But then Chris went and got a Joe Flacco, so.
I got a better QB from the
And then,
same guy.
I thought Evan Ingram would be good to move to the Titans. The Titans don't really have a guy, and he really needs something there to wrap up the AFC South. I was thinking either a pick from him or potentially swapping him to the Raiders for Mac Wilson in a pick. And then I just don't understand why you even have Derek Barnett if you're not going to have a high pick anyway, unless you're trying to win the division.
Oh,
which,
no, I'm
good
not.
luck.
The issue is nobody wants Derek Barnett. So basically, guys like that, I have to, guys like
Yeah.
that, I think will be more valuable if there's an injury.
Exactly. My thing is the Falcons and Commanders both have about 20-25 million, and yeah, he'd be a lot. Maybe you could take some trash back from him and maybe just not get that much, but he's just not even worth getting the points from if you're tanking, because
Is Barnett even starting this year?
Yeah, I just don't think there's going to be very many
not.
points, Steven.
he's not even starting, then never mind. They won't even give you anything.
Yeah.
That was one of those that he was Colts had him up last year.
40
It was
or 36.
yeah, and like we had
32.
discussed it, and like it wasn't 32. It wasn't like a crazy idea because he did have an opportunity last year to like renegotiate him last year, but then I don't know what happened. I don't know why he got back up to that.
Yeah, honestly,
Was-
he's
was
a guy
he-
I've been getting cheap in like every IDP league I'm in. I think he's like really undervalued right now. I think there's a chance he actually like plays quite a bit this year.
I mean, the team
Brandon
likes
Graham's
him.
like 34, and
Oh well,
he's just the kind of guy I like to get. He's like a post-hype guy, but that's too much about Derek Barnett.
the monster rookie that they have will take every snap that Cox and Graham don't feel like taking.
And Milton Williams.
Hey, are Pro Bowlers like when you extend them, are they extended at the cost of whatever their renegotiation would be, or are they extended off of that number?
I believe it applies the renegotiation value. So the renegotiation takes place of the extension, percentage that would normally be tacked on. Speaking of Pro Bowlers, TJ Watt still hasn't been taken off IR by the Cowboys.
I don't know what he's doing.
If anybody can
hasn't.
get Nathan to respond,
He's
that would
not
be
going to. I've talked to
Mm.
him several times about trading
Yeah,
for
have
him or
you?
whatever. He says he's just going to let the points sit on the bench all year.
I can't even tell who's talking right now.
It's James.
Yeah, I've talked to him several times about trading for him.
Okay.
He's straight up just told me he's just going to take the point hit on the bench, just
Yes.
not get the points. And he doesn't want to trade him because he feels he's too valuable. He's just going
But
to
he's
roll
gonna
the
be
dice, let
29.
him hold out.
That's
Here's the
so
point.
tragic.
Like, it just makes no sense. I mean, I don't know. I always look at Dallas and then I'm like, oh God, it's Dallas. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. No.
You know what I mean? Like, he ain't gonna trade anything. Like, I'm wasting my time. Like, I could offer him the world, and he's probably not gonna look at it.
He's
Oh.
not going to move TJ, and he's not going to move.
He's not going to move
Ryan-
Parsons either.
Ryan-
I offered him.
Yep.
I offered him the house for Parsons.
Yep. The two
And,
best linebackers in the league, he says.
He's not
I-
wrong.
I don't hate that idea. I tried to find that last year with holdouts, and there wasn't anybody that I could have really picked up that I liked with the idea of letting them hold out a whole year.
Yeah.
James, as far as DJ goes, never mind, because I will not pay $21.5 million.
Yeah, I fully planned on just franchising him at the end of the year, and then essentially probably letting the Colts spend $40 million on him. Take my first round pick and be like, well, let's find the next Deontay.
Yeah.
Just send him to me, so I have to deal with the problem.
Oh yeah. What do you want to ship me for my $1 million rental Deontay Johnson?
Take my 35 cents on the dollar.
No, I'm good. I'd rather roll with him. I bought him as a rental with the idea of if I franchise tag him, I get a pick back.
I mean, I will say though, James, if you want to save yourself multi-millions of dollars, I'll happily give you Dre for Bosa.
Nah, I'm good. If I wanted to save money, I would have shipped him and kept Burns.
Oh yeah. Hey, Mike, if you like those ideas, I got a Hunter Renfrow for CD Lamb that we could talk.
What are you talking? Oh God! No. Oh my God!
Oh my God!
It's so much more fun to actually hear it out loud than actually read it on the chat, the comments of the trade. Like trying to save you some money on this one. Like what?
Well, the other thing that's great about Deontay is if he doesn't help me push past.
Oh, grind baby.
Who went on mute?
So I did that bill tactic with Titans. I said it to Justin Jefferson, and I did get a respectful decline. But he obviously, I'm pretty sure he took it as the half-hearted offer that it was. Where he's just I wouldn't know, not even if there was another first. I'm not considering that.
Yeah, I wonder if he's
respectful.
Yeah, he's very nice about it.
I enjoy dealing with Titans.
Luigi's fun whenever he talks to you, whenever he's actually around.
I don't expect everybody to be super active during the off season.
Yeah.
I got off of that, being upset about that long ago.
Yeah.
If week 1 hasn't kicked off yet, I don't, some offers can expire. It is what it is. Some people are on vacation or, just doing other things. I know I am, especially this off season, I am the worst because I carve out time for a podcast and the rest of the time I'm just busy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. All right, Cooper, I sent you over something. Let me know if I'm in the ballpark.
Now you guys speak it. What's the point of this?
I need more than that.
Who are you making an offer to?
I said I
Jets.
sent Cooper over something.
Oh, okay.
I'm an Evan Ingram truther, so.
So again, I know this is likely not what you're doing, but a frustrating thing for me is someone puts somebody on their trade block saying, looking for this. You send it, and then it's oh no, I'm a truther. I don't want to move.
Well, I mean, I'm a truther, but I also, for my team composition, he doesn't fit. But I still want to get value for him, right?
No, again, I can understand that being low on the value, but
I think this is 50 cents on the dollar, not 80 cents even.
Fair enough. Again, I have no idea what the hell's going on with the Jacksonville depth chart right now. So,
I wouldn't touch Evan Ingram with a 10-foot pole as a former Giants or as a Giants fan.
Well, that's why he's not a Giant anymore.
Drop City, dude.
I'd offered Bills 23-second for him.
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, which is probably low.
For who?
For Evan Ingram.
I mean, not that low.
again, for those who believe in him, it would be low.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What would you
every
want
every
in- what would you
offseason
want in
we
pick
heard
value?
how
I'm
good
sorry.
Evan Ingram was in shirt and pads, but just 4 or 5, whatever, 4 years, never once put it together.
Yeah, it's always this was going to be the year.
Chris, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask Panthers what he wants in pick value for Cooks.
James.
He's AFK. All right, I'll just assume.
I think he was the one that might have had the crying baby in the background. So
I'll just force the trade through as commissioner, assuming he'd accept it. Do it that way.
He meant to accept it totally.
Well, why don't you present it in front of the council here, and we can just will it.
You guys are fine with it, okay? I use my judgment.
Okay, this isn't our other league where I could say will of the force. That would have led to problems at some point. I'm glad I don't have to find that anymore.
I did explain that to a different league mate that I was doing a podcast, and I was like, yeah, we're just gonna openly discuss trades. Basically, we're gonna publicly shame people into accepting offers that the majority of us feel are acceptable.
Right. Oh.
Nope.
How much is Deontay Johnson going to cost if he has to get extended?
21.
Nope, never mind. Not interested. Yep.
See?
Yeah, I was interested at 17, but then when you said it was negotiated off of that, I was like, nope.
That's why I'm saying I'll buy him.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything's cheaper than a $35 million Keenan Allen, so it looks good.
All perspective.
See, he makes the $35 million Keenan Allen and the $13 million Stephon Diggs ownable when I have a $3 million Hunter Renfrow and a sub $2 million Deontay Johnson. I'm fine with that core of wide receivers. I'll drop every other wide receiver on my roster, including Lynn Bowden. No, probably not.
You're
I'm
lying.
not.
You wouldn't
no,
do that.
I'm
You
not
are
going
lying.
that far. You're right. I'm going to keep him until he says he's done with the NFL.
You are full of the shit.
All right, so those would be my 5.
So that's actually an interesting thought. Somebody acquiring Deontay Johnson, not extending him,
and seeing what happens,
and franchise taking him or something instead.
Yeah, with the question, get him for just a first. Otherwise, you're paying a premium for the rental.
Yeah,
you're not going to get him for just a first,
right?
Unless James comes back on and says he's.
I think he's happy to let him.
I'll say this. A top 5 first might get it done with 1, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's also one of those things. It's completely reasonable for him to just not trade him and do the same thing that we're discussing.
100%. I would love for anybody other than Pats to take him off of the Panthers. But
why do you not want Pats to take
because I have his first.
He still has his first.
Okay. First is top 5, right?
Not now. He's got Javonta.
Right.
Oh, no. Bengals has Javonta. Man, things move too fast in this league.
Pats has Sanders.
How did you forget that? That occupied at least half your day yesterday.
No, it didn't. I got disgusted for an hour, and then I went about my day. like I told you when we were discussing. I had an opportunity to acquire both of those larger assets at very fair values. I decided not to. I'm okay with whatever they went for, so it's not like I'm like, oh, I would have paid more, because I wouldn't have. I also don't think the value was correct. That's all.
Chris, I'm actually genuinely debating on whether or not to offer you Dre.
Always follow your gut.
Well,
I've never once disagreed with any of your stances, so just send the offer over.
You are lying through your teeth. Oh, you're so full of shit, and I love it.
Oh,
man, it's like I'm like debating between that. I'm debating on like the Raiders.
I mean, depending on what you're offering, there's a good chance I just decline it. I've declined many an offer this week.
Yes, you have.
Mike, yours were the hardest
I
by
know.
far. By far. Like I wrote out the team, what it would look like with that in place, and what I'd have left to try to fill in the gaps. It looks pretty, but it's not a smart move.
Like I just wish that Jags would actually like answer.
He responded to me earlier. I have an offer sitting out to him.
Well, he's asking questions he should be asking at trade time like 3 weeks late. So week 3 trades are up for debate now.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that.
All right, Pat. So are you gonna give me my 2 back?
I'm working on it. Trust me, I'm looking.
I'll give you Barrios and I'll give you Strong. Give me my 2.
No, I can't afford Barrios anymore, and
What kind of cap do you
Strong is going out. He's not scoring any points this year.
Who?
No, Strong.
Yeah, but you don't need points. You have Miles Sanders.
Hey, I mean he's playing this week, so
Yeah, well, that's my point. Like that, like it's just a future move.
I don't know. You're just so whatever about Draymond. And,
well, I'm not whatever about it. I'm just like I wonder if I could offer it because I know you won't say yes, but I don't know if Chris is drinking or not.
0 drinks so far tonight. I consumed my week's worth of alcohol yesterday.
That's unfortunate.
You're trying to send Bengals Draymond.
I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just thinking about it.
I see no offer. I'm not playing.
No.
I'm not paying first plus for Draymond. I'll tell you that now if that's what you're considering.
I'm not saying first plus. I'm just like debating on like the idea of what could be done.
Zach Moss in the 3rd round pick.
No.
I think I offered him better than that. Actually,
yeah, you offered me Moss and like a 2.
I think it was Moss. I think I offered you Moss in a second last night.
Snap, accept that.
No, I don't like Moss at all.
Yeah, but why do you believe in Draymond being higher than like a tier 2, tier 3 defensive end?
Because he will be.
See, this is why I never get along with Bill.
You think?
Yeah, this was our hiccup the last 2 days, right here. It could be.
You
I'm
think?
glad this is live because Chris is Bill. I agree with everything you ever said.
It's like
This is
you're
what
wrong
I'm
with
going
everything.
You think that they gave a man who has been suspended for 14 or more games in his career, they gave that man a ton of money because they felt their pass rush was good already with Draymond?
It's a 3-4 defense. Dre isn't an edge rusher.
So where's his?
He's a tackle monster, and he can actually get to the quarterback. He just has to stay healthy.
Okay. I'm a fan of Draymond. We have already discussed this, but I'm just like I want you to temper your expectations.
I don't think that it's going to be like a first plus. Like I've definitely tried to get it for sure, and Pats can attest to it. So can Browns, but it's just like I feel like it's a situation where he's undervalued because he's not like a known name, and he just needs to like show out for like 2 weeks, and then he'll like actually have the value that I want him to have. So it's like I'm asking people to pay ahead to believe what I believe.
Right. And that's going to be hard. He certainly does have an opportunity to break out, but
and he's only 25.
So
in all fairness to Bill, he didn't ask for a first plus. He asked for a first plus plus plus.
Yeah, and I always will. I always try high. You if you don't start high, you can't go down anywhere. That's right, Mike. Learn from me.
That a boy.
You've given us many object lessons. RJ, are you Never mind.
what?
You should move Lawson. You bought him. I'll buy him from you.
Okay, for what?
Trey Hendrickson was going rate.
No deal.
No.
Nope.
Not a chance.
Wait, what? You
I
would
said
say
no. Yeah. You know I don't like him. I don't care what production he
Oh
has.
my God!
I don't like defensive ends that can't reach the bottom of their own pants pockets.
I want to point out you just railed on Bill for essentially this type of stance on a guy.
Yeah,
Just
it's
taking
fine.
a heavy belief. No, I wouldn't send you Hendrickson. What did you pay a first for Lawson?
Yes,
Is that what it was?
I did.
Would you sell him for a future first? That may or may not be a Bengals first.
Probably.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Make his team worse. Let's do it.
Oh no, you know both of those firsts are getting compiled with something else.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting something big and splashy.
So that's my thought. Is I pay for a guy that I once liked, who's rehabbing and is make or break. I don't think I'd see it as an overpay because that's what you paid for him. And I don't think the situation, they drafted a DE, but still the situation really hasn't changed. And then you go combine that, do something that I can't, and get a flashier piece.
They also moved the other kid that they liked, the one that they gave a lot of money, into defensive tackle.
Which guy was that?
He has an abbreviated, hyphenated name.
Oh, Franklin Myers?
Yes.
Did they now?
Most of the depth charts I saw, he was listed as a defensive tackle. Am I incorrect on that?
No, I'm checking here.
Yeah, they paid him. They list him as a DT, but they paid him like a DN.
Yeah. Oh, I know they like him. He produced. I don't. I'm just saying, like, even with drafting a rookie, like, they are pretty open on their line. I mean, I think the majority of players are kind of in a rotation, but Chris likes Lawson how I like Lawson.
It's irrational, but we do.
Okay. I don't know what it is. I saw enough of him play in Cincinnati where I'm just like, yeah, that's the type of player that I like.
No, Pat. So I got him through a different owner.
Man, I don't remember having traded him to anybody else.
Yeah, no, I actually checked because I know that a lot of the players that I've got came from you on that, so I had to double check. Who's in an airport?
Somebody's hot mic in there.
It was a bit loud.
Oh, good. But yeah, it's fine if you don't want the player, but definitely did not get him from you. All right, let's see here.
Yeah. I think I tried that project. Yeah.
Oh, good. Let's see here. Who else is on the pod that I can send an offer to?
Yo.
Chris, we doing this?
I don't know, man.
You decide.
I've actually given it a little bit of thought since
That's fine.
whenever the other trades happened yesterday. I wish there was more news on him. I don't see anything.
He came back at the beginning of training camp.
He's
A
been-
little bit later than
little bit later.
everybody else, and he's been fine. I haven't heard anything, and no news about some of the stars are just is fine by me.
Did he take snaps in the preseason?
That's a
I
good
d-
question.
That I don't know.
It's hard to like somebody on a team that you do your best not to watch.
Yep. It's
I missed this. Who are we talking about?
Lawson.
Carl Lawson.
Carl Lawson, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I shouldn't thank you. I should thank Jeremy, but I love my schedule this year.
Dude, you guys should honestly go look at my schedule. I looked through the rest of the year. This is probably the hardest schedule I've seen in my entire life. Go take a look. I'm not going to read them all off. Just it's murderer's row.
This is, I guess humble bragging.
Chris, if I end up with no DNs for week 1, am I going to have a problem?
We technically will flag you for not complying with the starting lineup for week 1.
Okay.
But as long as you're good the rest of the year, you're going to be fine.
Sweet Jesus.
You're the leading into the playoffs. You're just gonna be beaten down.
Dude, do you see this
You're
schedule?
going 500. Like, even if you're a good team, you're going 500.
This is
Ravens,
why
Browns, Steelers, Chargers, Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Titans, Pats, Panthers, Ravens, Saints, Browns, Bucks, Falcons, Commanders, and Steelers. So your non-divisional games are the Commanders, the Falcons, the Buccaneers, the Saints,
Christ.
the Panthers, the Pats.
the only teams on that list that are tanking are Jets
And Saints.
and Saints.
Mhm. From week 9 on, that's gonna test your win-loss record.
You might get lucky with some bye week games getting you some dubs.
Or lose them all.
Yeah, or you could lose them all. Yeah.
Like you guys already make fun of how hard the FC North is with me, Ravens, and Browns. So we got to play all those teams twice, and the Chargers are in there. Oh man, I should just tear it down, honestly.
No.
Just
No.
Do it.
How did this
Do
process
it.
stay with
Not
it?
before I do it.
In my office.
I mean, yeah, I'm not exactly living the dream over here either.
no. I mean, but you're gonna have some guy that doesn't play a team over 500 for well over half their games in the season. Yeah. The
Yeah.
one you're middle square for me on this little thing.
So my week 1's hard. Giants, Commanders. Then I play Cowboys. Panthers will give me a run, but I really think highly of my team. Packers will give me a run in week 3. Vikings, I think has taken a step down.
How dare you?
Bears, Seahawks, Lions, Jags, Commanders again, Colts, Giants, then Texans, Titans, Steelers, Cowboys.
Wow.
All the teams that have kind of planted their flag in the I don't know. I'm probably not making a playoff run.
Oh God, Jeremy are going to win this division at 9-8.
The only good news I can say is because my schedule's like this, that means the Falcons, Panthers, Commanders, they have to play Ravens, Browns, myself. So it's not a cake matchup for them either. I think we're going to beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah, the command. Yeah, so we've got the AFC East and the NFC East, and then I've got first place schedule on top of that. So this does not feel good.
Yeah, Baltimore's schedule is not fun.
Yeah, the only difference is you guys probably the NFC North is probably not at the same level as the AFC North.
So then that means
I need another DE.
Yep. That means Giants has a decent schedule too. Giants, how are you feeling down there? You still alive?
I'm still alive.
All right.
Yeah, RJ, you're rolling center square right now.
Oh,
you are. This is Marcia. Okay, thank you. Jeez. I'm actually currently trying to buy Autry for a lot less than I'd have to pay for Lawson. But he's also infinitely older and infinitely more expensive.
Mm-hmm. So what was it? Lawson, Autry, and Muhammad Al-Qadin. And Agba. Those were the ones that I tried to pick up once rollover happened. Because I was like, they might be kind of, other than Lawson, I was like, they might be kind of expensive, but they're like decent value. And then they all got traded and things happened with their contracts, and I don't know what their actual value is now. Let me see. Autry's on the Jags, right?
Autry is on the Jags. Al-Qadin is on the Colts. So he likely will not move.
Yep.
Unless Browns can get him away from him, and then we can trade with Browns. There's only one person Colts likes at a time. I've burned that bridge, so it can't be me.
It's never been me. Never be me.
I like Colts. Colts.
I like him.
He's a decent dude for sure.
He's a fun guy. He's been on the pod before too. So anyone that's been on the pod automatically gets a few more points.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I made like 2 or 3 trades with Colts.
Yeah, it can be done. You just have to get him at the right time with the right player.
Yep.
Like I've been trying nonstop. Well, within reason, I've been trying to get Howell, and he just is not doing it unless a first is involved.
I actually think I bought Braxton Berrios from him.
RJ, I think we do this. I think we get the ball started.
Do it.
What is it?
I think
Do it.
Is it Lawson?
Do it.
I think it's a first for Lawson. So I think what we do.
Okay. And then it's on me to go shopping before kickoff.
Well, that sets the tone for Dre then.
What?
Because I can. Because I can.
How many double-digit sack seasons has Dre had?
Well, how many seasons has he missed entirely, like Carl?
How many games has he been suspended?
How many pots have you smoked?
Who are you asking? Me?
I'm probably just going to end up getting them there, Broncos. Eventually I'm going to send something. I mean, Giants is just like reject. So
Well, let's work it out.
I can't see the ring. I can't see the ring around the name talking.
It's sent, RJ. I know you can do work with this. I think it's fair. Nobody else is yelling at us as we discuss it. So,
does anybody have objections?
No.
No.
I'm accepting it.
All right. I'll flip to Kamish to approve.
Okay. I'm getting closer. Browns, I'm getting closer to having cap space so we can make a trade.
I tried my best. I really did.
I really appreciate you like doing the legwork on that, and I am doing my best to get under like the cap so we can make some things happen.
Process.
I can take dead weight if necessary.
I had sat on like the Bucks trade, like it was one of those things where I was just trying to get other things, and the other offers that I had out never got responded to. So I was like stringing Bucks along, and I was like, I have to accept Bucks offer with Brockers in it. And like Browns was doing his best to like alleviate my cap space with that. And that's like, and then I also was traveling yesterday, so I had no time to respond to basically anybody. And then it's a disaster. If I'm not on the podcast, good luck on me getting a trade done.
God damn it. Pats, I wish that was not the fucking Giants first, man. I hate it. I hate that I did this.
All right.
I'm telling you that one for those two. It's
Now,
like automatic.
Chris,
If you propose it, I would accept it right now.
AJ Dillon and 2 firsts for
Hold
Javonte. I'm joking.
Uh-huh.
But I'm gonna say, like, I got a first and 2 second offer for Metcalf, and that's the best. That's the best offer that's coming for there too. So I kind of feel like, Javonte, DK,
How much was it for
a first and
DK?
2 seconds.
I don't think that's unreasonable because, like, you've like the majority of his rookie contract's been exhausted, or at least half
Right.
of it. So like, I don't think that's awful. I viewed Devontae, or I'm sorry.
DK.
I viewed DK as the lesser valuable piece compared to Javonte. But if you make a good number off of DK, like that balances out. Either way, you're like, but I think that's fantastic value in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up doing it. I'm like I said, I'm just in the mood of spreading things out, trying to.
Now, I think DK is one of those where like you do want to be mindful of like what the first is, because I'm not doing it for my first or Bengals first, or like if it's a mid-level team or something like that, then you consider it.
Yeah,
but
it
like
is.
Chargers first, you're not taking. Falcons, like that stuff. I wouldn't consider those.
Mike, check your inbox.
Giants.
Bill, I'm not taking that.
I know you're not, dude. Like I said, because I can.
All right.
I'm not taking it. I can't take it because it would put me over my year cap.
Yeah,
right,
but
guys, I gotta ask, what is your valuation here? Like, I'm just curious as how much you really think that running back's worth?
I think it's worth DK.
I think you could have
You think him alone's worth DK?
Yep.
So RJ, you okay if I share the offer that we were working through?
I was going to give a roundabout idea, but you are more than welcome to.
The offer, Pat's, the offer that I was hesitating on taking your deal with because I had with RJ was Javonte for AJ Dillon, Eagles 24 first, and Carl Lawson for Javonte, which in this case would be AJ Dillon, those 2 firsts for Javonte.
No, that would have been a great offer. That was a great offer.
So that's what
Dillon's gonna be very good, I think.
So
Yeah.
RJ pretty much owns Javonte right now, just in spirit. His success is your success.
Right. That's why, like, I was comfortable paying that. So like that's why, I view Javonte as like that top 10 asset. Like he's going to be one of those players that's going to have like 1,700 yards, and then he's going to be like a number 1 ranked running back in Dynasty, and like that, and then you sell him for even more. But like right now, he hasn't even achieved that. So I'm trying to get that. Like
I think that's his potential, but I really think he's going to be more of like a Nick Chubb. Like I think it's going to be a bell
I'm
cow
fine with
situation.
that too.
Not
Nick
bell
Chubb
cow
was
situation.
Nick Chubb still at some point was like a top 5 dynasty back that eventually elevated to number 1 at a certain point. And it's just like he's one of those players with that in his future.
Yeah,
So it's
I actually looked at you because I saw that you wanted a running back, but Dylan was the only one. I'm like, man, I traded to him.
right.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, I did look at your roster to dump off Javonta.
I thought about like approaching you, and like I remembered the AJ thing, so I'm like, I don't know, could I do like Kareem Hunt? And I just felt like it was too much of a like, here, take like my, like, yes, I know he's an established running back, but like there's a substantial age gap, so like take my old running back and my first round pick for your like young flashy thing. And I don't know, I didn't want to make that offer. It didn't feel right.
I mean, me personally, I probably would have just did it for, if we hadn't traded Dylan, I would have done it for Dylan in the first. I like Dylan. I didn't want to trade him away, but I was in whatchamacallit mode, like dump everything mode when I traded Dylan away.
So I think Dylan has benefited this offseason from a lot of hype. So like I think his value because when we made that trade, like Renfro was the big thing that I wanted. Like he was the big chip in that. And I felt like Dylan wasn't necessarily a throw-in, but if you had to, say this is the most valuable piece, like it was Renfro. But I think now it's probably Dylan, but it's not because of anything that they've done on the field. And like, if I'm not mistaken, we did that Renfro trade after the real life Adams trade, so that information was already out there.
Right.
So like, Dylan's only gained value just off of where everybody's putting him, hype.
Yeah, there was nobody giving me a first for Renfro, surprisingly. I think that's why I also made that trade. I don't know. It's all becoming a blur.
All right. I'm going to have to jump for a while, guys. If you're continuing this, just ping me. I'll process stuff.
Okay.
RJ, keep it going.
Yep. Now to find some more things. More nice shiny things.
Thanks for hosting, Mike, as always.
See ya.
See y'all, guys.
So do we need to jump off live? Like we're almost at 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just keep it going. I mean, who cares? If people are comfortable kind of sharing it, people can listen as long as they want to listen, or they can cut it off when they want to cut it off.
That's fair. That works for me.
Mike, did you talk about sell down at the beginning of this?
I talked about the Javonta and DK move.
You did, okay.
And I do agree with it. Even looking at it from a different perspective, if you just wanted to look at it from like a perspective of you have the highest valued players in those particular tiers. So if you were to sell down to the lowest player in that same tier and just get a first in return, like that's the kind of the perception like of what you were doing, at least from me. Which like you can extract a lot of value just being at the back end of a tier rather than like the top player in that tier.
Yeah. I'm just curious what your like motivation was, like just the landscape of the NFC, and you were like better off extracting some future value. Because I feel like your team was a top 4 or 5 consideration.
I still am. But I think so. If I look at the makeup of my team, I feel very good about getting a running back 1 and a running back 2 out of the Miami situation. And I think Brees is going to be a better running back than people are giving him credit for right now. So I think in a start 1 requirement for the running back position, I'm going to have an RB1 type score on most weeks. the wide receiver position, if you look at Geno Smith and Drew Lock type receivers, if you look at Denver's receiving core last year, Cortland Sutton put up 700 yards and 4 touchdowns last year in his games. So I'm expecting a bad year out of Metcalf with the addition of, and again, I'm sorry, Pats, this is probably not helping any kind of resale value here. Just kind of sharing my thoughts.
It's not hurting because DK's a stud already.
Yeah,
so it's just how you see it.
He's a beast, but again, this year I'm expecting DK to be in kind of the 800 yards, 5 touchdown, and does that help me more than Kendrick Bourne, who's probably going to be in that kind of points scoring level this year? I think 704 is not a bad projection for Kendrick Bourne. So if I can move out of those things and I see Javonta in the timeshare that I see him in, and I get some draft capital at the back end and I solidify some areas of weakness on my defense, it makes me a better team. Like if you looked at my linebacking core before I started all this, and I know.
Oh, I love the
IDP
IDP pieces you got back. Yeah.
So, and again, I know people are smarter in IDP than I am. I've said that before. I'll say it all over the place. I am not the smartest IDP person in the league, but and I'm going to struggle to say his name for the entire time he's on my team. Okereke.
Yeah.
Okereke is a defensive stud locked in at $3.5 million per year. Jalen Phillips, I see, is equivalent to a Trayvon Walker. Granted, if Trayvon keeps his D-end eligibility, since it looks like some position changes have already happened, that's going to look really good for Pats. But and plus Devin Lloyd, you add those 3 to the linebackers I had before, I've got a solid linebacker room again. Whereas before it's kind of okay, am I really going to have 2 guys, maybe 3 guys to start on a week-to-week basis? So it was spreading points around so that my entire starting team was better than just those guys, and using Metcalf's name value to make that happen was a big part of it. Now, Javonta, again, I think he's going to be a stud, and that's part of where I had to make the deal here and probably get a little bit less for him than I could have if I sold individually, but just kind of the way the deal came together.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I mean, I didn't hate the trade. I know like there was some people who really hated it, but I more just questioned like the motive behind it. I don't think the value was off.
Because that's the thing. And I believe DK is a stud and is going to be a stud again.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they paid him. And again, he's going to be there for a while. I think Seattle could be bad enough this year that they get a good QB next year, and it's a much different situation. But DK is making $20 million next year. He's making $4 million this year. Again, I'm paying Bourne $20 million for those points this year, but again, I can fit that in my budget. And then when he comes off my books, if he performs well enough that I get a comp pick for him, as well as clearing that space for other things, I think that's better for my team long term. And I've been consistent in my desire to be a year ahead instead of a year behind in some of my moves.
Yeah. I feel like that trade might have been there for you like week 3 after you saw how you did in the doubleheaders.
Probably. Again, yeah. So frankly, I probably could have, if RJ is about to give AJ Dillon and 2 firsts for Javonta, I probably could have taken that and broken this trade down and gotten better value if I had done it in pieces. But Pats sound like making big deals every once in a while, and this was a big deal. Speaking of big deals, RJ, we doing this?
No, that's too much for me to give up.
Oh, shit. Fine, I guess I'm just going to have to trade into the Falcons.
Ooh.
Please don't.
Don't.
So
I was about to click reject on that, and then you said it, and it I stopped myself.
Don't put those evils on me. You find out where you ship Miles.
He's got a couple offers. I mean, the ball is in Falcons' court. He could have himself a top tier D end.
I prefer not. That'd be great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
See, this is one of those. So I'm going to talk about this rejection. This is one of those times where it's like trade versus reality, right? I offered DK Metcalf in a second for Etienne, Tolbert, and Peter, right? The Houston safety. And Falcons comes back and says, I think Etienne and DK would be closer to fair value. So he thinks an established wide, I mean, I get it with the price tag, but he thinks an established wide receiver is, exact value as a guy coming off a Lynch Frank injury who's never played a snap in the NFL. That's the reality I get versus you're going to get 16 first for this is, I see that a lot.
But that's also Falcons because Falcons has to pay like $80 million to his 5-year options next year.
Yeah, the big issue with him is if he moves ETN, he has only Rashad White, realistically, beyond the season.
Still.
Well, Kamara, but
that's next year.
Kamara's supposed to get a suspension at some point. I'm honestly really upset he didn't get it this year, given that, I'm in his division. I'm trying to win a game against him, but no, the whole Monty and Josh Jacobs are both gonna go shooting up in cost. So, and the big thing too is he's already picked up both of those options, and the outlook on both of them doesn't look good. So
I think he picked up every 5th-year option that he has.
Yeah, I feel like he might have done that a little prematurely, but at the same time, can't really hate on him because the names along with those players.
Yeah, Jacobs is the only one though that I would.
Well, he got his actual 5th year dropped though, so you don't even know where Jacobs is playing football next year. Yeah. So he might literally go become Melvin Gordon's replacement with Denver, and all of a sudden you got Josh Jacobs and Javonta Williams. Are you happy to pay Josh Jacobs $20 million to split carries?
I mean, I'm not doing that, but that's. Like Brett says, that's future Brett's problem.
But look, I mean, you only got to start one running back a week. I mean, I made the playoffs last year with one of the Tennessee guys. I had both Tennessee backups, cycling back and forth. You know what I mean? It's like how many receivers you got to start? 3, I think. It's like.
But you also have to remember that your situation was special because Henry got hurt.
Right. No, I picked that guy up on waivers after he got hurt. So I mean,
also AFC versus NFC. The AFC is getting better in this league, but the AFC last year was not good.
Right.
Like the Super Bowl was more the NFC champ game than the actual.
Well, it's interesting because if you notice all the tanking teams, they're pretty much all in the AFC, except the Lions.
Yeah, and even out of that, some of the stronger teams in the AFC are definitely not fully put together. Like they have some glaring weaknesses. Like anybody could have joined this league in the offseason and won the AFC South. Anyone that was active could have won the AFC South. The AFC South is bad. Like,
well, yeah.
I'll give it to the Titans. The Titans very clearly have the best roster, but even that roster, it's like your quarterback's Kirk Cousins. What's going on next year?
I mean, honestly though, last year you had the Packers were decent, the Vikings, the Falcons, and Washington. So you had 4 teams. Yeah, the rest were AFC, obviously Chargers, Bengals, Bills. So yeah, it's probably 3 and 4.
Well, the way to look at it, the AFC had 2 teams score over 4,000. The NFC had 3. And then on top of that, the NFC also had several teams. Like the points for average in the NFC is probably 400 points higher last year. Like the Bills didn't even break 4,000 points, and he was your AFC champ.
Yep. So, Brandon, I want you to show your work on this offer.
Like you put up 3,400 points when 12-5.
So, I'm trying to.
I think Chase and Garrett are closer than you do, but I revoked it regardless.
No, again, I'm not trying to publicly shame. I'm trying to understand how you're valuing this stuff so I can make a better offer. But I haven't been able to understand. So since we're live, I figure, trying to better understand that would be a good conversation to have at some point.
Oh, he don't think along the same value lines that you and I do. That's why That's where our deals get done like fairly quickly.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out a deal of getting Garrett to you for Ngakwe and something, but that's probably not the type of deal you want to be making right now. Or hey, if it is, I'm open to it.
I mean, I'm trust me, I'm always looking for a way to get Garrett. I mean, I'm a Browns and a Buckeyes fan. I mean, it sucks that I'm a Browns fan, but yeah, I am a fan.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
I mean, my God, since what? So I'm 45. So since '88, right? The drive and the fumble has been, just life has sucked as a professional sports fan in the NFL.
Yeah, but you got the Guardians now.
Yeah, and it's funny. All they did was take out what, the IN and added GUAR.
I heard whenever they made that name change, I heard that it was because it would be cheaper for marketing purposes because the font and the end of the name are pretty much the exact same.
Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, trust me, with the Indians or the Guardians or whatever, you had the Braves beating us in the 90s. You had the Red Sox come back 3-1. I mean, it hasn't been good with them either. Cleveland's just been, outside LeBron getting that Cavaliers championship, Cleveland's just been a sad place for professional sports for a long time.
Mitchell, we're going to be good. I'm loving the Cavs. I'm loving what we're doing now.
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
I've seen so many people like make jokes online about like how he woke up and he's going to Cleveland. He's just so sad. I'm like, y'all remember he left from like Salt Lake City, right? Like,
no, again, people are saying that, but apparently he was on the golf course when he heard the news and was like jumping around excited.
Oh, nice.
And was on a Instagram live stream with Darius Garland the next night, talking about it and kind of, same kind of excited. So he is excited to come to Cleveland. He's excited to be part of the team and the core we have.
Do they still have Rubio?
Yeah, we brought him back. We traded him with a protected first to get Karis LeVert last year. Then we re-signed him in free agency this year.
Dude, if he can stay healthy, that is a killer squad. He was doing great for Cleveland last year.
Yeah, if again, I love it. If Okoro can take a leap and be the point of attack defender at the 3 we need, the scoring from Garland, the scoring and playmaking from Garland and Mitchell is going to be disgusting. The defense from Mobley, Okoro, and Allen is insane. The challenge is going to be if they get played off the court because of the size.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're down to 6. Look, I start talking basketball and shit happens.
Is Jets gone? Oh,
Yes, Jets dropped and Giants dropped.
darn.
Okay.
The Imagination and trilogy from South Park's on right now. It's fantastic.
Imagination Land is one of the best they've ever done.
Yeah.
So good. That and then the Game of Thrones for the Xboxes or whatever it was.
The console wars.
Console Wars, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The streaming wars is pretty funny. That's what they just did because it's all based on, they signed that exclusive deal right with HBO for 10-year, $500 million, and then they turn around to Paramount Plus and they're selling movies to Paramount Plus because apparently they didn't put the rights to movies to HBO. So they've got HBO all kinds of pissed off, but they can't do anything legally. And they literally made a couple episodes about that on Paramount Plus.
So they're not going to have new episodes of South Park on Comedy Central.
I'm not honestly sure. I think it might be Comedy Central and all streaming rights are HBO for episodes.
Okay.
It might be that thing where Comedy Central, I know you used to be able to watch it like the next day or some shit for the rest of the week. I think all that's gone.
Oh, okay.
I think you have to either watch it live when it comes on Comedy Central, record it, or you have to just watch it on HBO.
Huh.
Which they got absolute bank for. And they're trying to actually open Casablanca. I don't know if you guys remember the episode where Cartman once gets to go to Casablanca for somebody's birthday or something. Makes it all about
Bonita.
himself.
Casa Bonita.
Yeah, Bonita, that's it. Yeah, they're actually trying to open it. Apparently, it's a real restaurant that was in Colorado, and they're trying to bring it back, but they're hitting a bunch of snags with it. And apparently, it's gotten fairly expensive, and people were getting concerned that they might not do it. But they're like, we don't care about the money. We've sunk enough into it now. We're just going to do it.
Oh man.
Casa Bonita.
Casa Bonita. Oh man. Yeah, it's so good. I really like, outside of them doing like that season where they had like them as real people in like flashback episodes or whatever they are, like I've really loved every season. But like I really especially love Stan being a weed dealer.
Stan is definitely a very, very good character.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Man, I'm just saying, if I had space for it, Kirby Joseph would be getting claimed off a certain somebody's practice squad.
Why do you have him on your taxi squad?
Right?
Well, nobody's claimed him.
I would. I just don't have the contract year space. I even thought about potentially dropping someone to do that, but I was like, he'll just.
I mean, I would just promote him anyway.
Exactly. I was like, I'll just promote him, so it's pointless. I'd have to make a cut just to not be able to get the player.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, disaster averted. Looks like Falcons doesn't want Myles Garrett.
Thank God.
Got lucky.
Falcons, do you want Draymond Jones since you're paying attention, maybe? Oh man.
He wants to lose to me week 1 so I can have my Super Bowl and be happy.
You sure you don't want to just do something like Brandon Cooks and Khalil Mack for like Keenan Allen and some first round picks?
I'm not against it.
Okay. I mean,
that still is, 22 million apart, and that's 18 million apart still. Or no, if it's Mac Inc., it'd be
it's 6 million apart.
Yeah, I can just throw Justin Jones to somebody.
Hi. Or did I give him to you?
You gave him to me. You can't have him back.
Okay.
I've been trying to sell him ever since I got him.
Really?
Yeah. He's been offered to like 6 teams. I looked around. I'm like, oh, they need a D tackle. Can I get a slightly better third than what I gave up for him?
Yeah.
All right. So I don't stare at this for the next few hours. Is there any way that we can work that out and get Kyle Phillips involved? Or would you not want to get rid of 2 wide receivers? I can provide you lesser, unappealing wide receivers and a lot of picks. Not a lot of picks, but I'll give you all of whatever I have. And then, I don't know, we'll find something decent to make it work.
I'm definitely open to moving him. But I'd definitely have to get at least 1 receiver back. I'm really excited about what's going on with Turpin in Washington, which is why I'm in the market to move at least someone. Because Javonta not only made the team, but Kellen Moore keeps talking about how they're going to use him in the offense. And Montreal, Washington, apparently Russell and the GM over there in Denver literally sat down before the draft and they were watching tape on a bunch of guys and they both looked at him and were like, he's the guy. And all he's done preseason and camp is just keep getting hyped.
Well, I can offer you the guy in front of Turpin, Noah Brown.
I actually picked him up off of free agency last year and sold him to the Steelers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I'm a Cowboys fan. A lot of those guys I've been able to profit on.
Yeah, and with Gallup out for at least a week or 2, that's pretty helpful. I can figure out anybody who actually.
It is, but Noah's not that much of a talent. He's a really, really good blocker, And we use him in some red zone packages because people
Yeah.
think he's going to block, and then we just dump it to him, which is
Yeah.
where all of his production's been. He's a good spot here and there to run a curl route or something simple, but he's not really that much of an NFL talent. I think he's just Zeke's best buddy.
It's possible. That's definitely a possible way. They both went to school at the same time.
They both came out at the same time. They've hung out a crap ton. You see pictures of them a lot.
Yeah.
How long is that Keenan contract? Am I about to cry? Is it about
3
to go?
years.
I think it's 3 years.
Well, I will tell you,
26 we can't get retire anymore, so that's not horrible.
The
worst if I renegotiated him would be.
The only thing is, if we start talking 2 firsts, I would more likely just go to Mike with his original offer.
Not for Lamb?
No.
Oh. So I say Lamsky's available?
Mike and I haven't even started talking about Lamb. Mike? No Lamb?
No Lamb.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of figured. Like there's people that I just assume are not available, and I don't send offers. Like that's the whole Javonta thing too. Is like Javonta, when I knew he was with Mike, I figured he would get moved, especially if he hits his trade block. Because realistically, if he hits his trade block, he's available. But then when the Pats got him, I'm like, oh, he's actually trying to turn it around. We were in conversations for DK. I gave him a decent package. So I thought if he put all that together, he'd have a decent offense. But then all of a sudden, he flips Javonta for what he did. And I'm like, oh, if I knew he was available, I would have gave you better than that. I've considered several packages for Myles Garrett, but I just don't have any picks. I'd have to give up too much.
Like, I will say, like, Mike made me an offer, and I'm not opposed to it, but I would prefer to look at other things before I just pick up that first round pick and move it 15 minutes later.
And when it comes to, I know we talked about a long time ago with the Dodson, and I brought up Terrell Bernard. It sounds like week 1, this Thursday night game, Buffalo's planning to play more 3 linebackers against the Rams. So I would not be surprised if my boy flashes and then does nothing for the rest of the year.
What's up, Sean?
Going full Sammy Watkins.
They try three linebackers and then decide against it.
Where the fuck did Pats go?
He disappeared.
He dropped.
Still send him trade offers.
Yeah.
Why? What are you trying to trade?
No, I'm not trying. I'm like, I know he wants Dre, and I know I could get the Giants first for it. I just moral dilemma against making his pick worse.
Alternate. You give him Dre and some amount of picks, and you get DK.
I'm gonna be real, man. I'll just go ahead and ship Dre. If you can get a first for Dre, take it. I don't think that highly of him.
I'm just it's just so weird.
If I was trying to get him from you, I'd try to haggle you down to a second.
Yeah. And the other thing, I would just look at that division and be honest with yourself. Is that going to truly win him more games? And then go look at his schedule, too. Because if his strength of schedule is to a certain point, a single defense end is not going to win him games.
Oh, his schedule puts him probably at 500.
Really?
Yeah, weirdly. Now that he's improved his roster enough, he probably is looking at 500.
Hold on. He has the AFC North and the NFC North.
Yeah. So those are all losses.
And he's in the
South. No, sorry.
No.
He's in the East. So Bills, Dolphins. But his schedule is funky.
I don't know. I feel like I come out of week 4 looking really good. Because I have an easy game against the Saints, the Rams, Lions, and Seahawks. So I feel like I at least come out 500. And I just got to find a way to beat either RJ, the Bucks, and the Rams. Any of those games put me over 500. And then if I can win my Super Bowl against Brett, I'm good for the year. I don't even care.
So he's got Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Texans, Browns, Steelers, Ravens, Raiders, Bengals, Packers, Jets, Vikings, Dolphins, Bears. Yeah, it's like his non-division.
That's at least 9 losses. But no, you're not wrong. He might pull out 6, 7 wins this year. Which is kind of annoying.
His last 4 weeks are Bears, Lions, Niners, and Bills. That's like 3-1 right there.